Sinclair is an author and musician who joins us now from London. David, I know you can hear that music. I'm not sure if you could see the pictures, but just to see those four guys as they were back then, that is just wonderful. How good is that album?
Well, it's certainly up there in the very top tier of all-time great albums. It didn't get very well reviewed at the time, strangely enough. It kind of had mixed reviews because the Beatles had been very busy in the preceding years. They'd put out Sgt. Pepper's not that long before, and then the White Album. And also the Beatles were very much at loggerheads with each other, or so it was felt to be, when they were making the album. And a lot of critics thought at the time that it wasn't necessarily going to be one of their best albums, but it very quickly achieved a sort of hallowed status. And now, as you say, 50 years later, it's part of the core repertoire of rock and roll.
Yeah, but who do you think is buying it? Who's made it number one? Paul McCartney said that he's surprised that actually it stood the test of time to make it back to number one in the UK album charts.
Well, it's a funny thing, that, isn't it? I mean, everyone loves an anniversary, to be honest. And as you get to that, reach these staging posts in your life and in your whole experience of listening to music, I think people do become very nostalgic and very keen to hear those records again and maybe buy them again. There's been a big resurgence of vinyl lately. But I think also the Beatles are one of those acts that really do translate to younger people as well. I think that they've managed to keep their repertoire has managed to stay very timeless. It's part of the kind of cultural air that we breathe. And so if you like someone like Ed Sheeran or whoever it might be, you know, it's no great leap to go back and listen to the record by the Beatles, and you can hear it's just great tunes and great music, and it's timeless.
I need you to defend them a little bit more, David, because I want to read you the first verse. You'll know it probably off the top of your head, of Come Together. Okay, but for the benefit of the viewer. Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly, he got juju eyeballs, he won holy roller, he got hair down to his knee, got to be a joker, he just do what he please. Are those great lyrics?
Well, that's countercultural beatnik speak, isn't it? John Lennon got into a lot of trouble for those lyrics, because that first line was actually a straight steal from a Chuck Berry song, Here Come Old Flat Top. And Chuck Berry's publishers actually sued him, or threatened to sue him, for plagiarizing the lyric. And Lennon only got them to relent by promising to record 3 of Chuck Berry's songs on his next album, which is what he did on the rock and roll album. So, yeah, that was an impressionistic kind of a lyric. But there was other great lyrics on Abbey Road. I mean, you know, you've got George Harrison's was actually doing the great lyric writing at that point, it seems to me. He did Something, which is a timeless song again, and which Frank Sinatra recorded, and lots and lots of very major mainstream acts. You know, there's a lyric that really connected with an awful lot of people and still does. And also Here Comes the Sun, I think, is a great lyric. Just a great sense of well-being and optimism and cheerfulness that pushed through for a long time, still does.
Okay, David, in about 30 seconds, who are the modern-day Beatles? Who would you say are right up there and as successful, as popular, and as great as the Beatles playing music today?
Well, I don't think there's anyone you can say that has ever going to rival the Beatles, to be honest. I mean, nowadays you do have megastars. You have people like Adele and you have people like Ed Sheeran, who I mentioned before, who have a kind of ability to cross over big marketplaces, and Ed Sheeran works in rap and Adele plays stadiums and so forth. But there's no group like the Beatles now that you could compare. The Beatles are a one-off.
Absolutely. Perfect timing, David. We're out of time here on the News Hour. David Sinclair speaking to us from London. Thanks so much, and thank you for watching.